Welcome to MAFS Madness on So Many Receipts. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon. We're journalists, reality show addicts, and obsessed with Married at First Sight.
Bringing you all the tea from MAFS 2026. Let's get stuck in. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for all your support with our podcast and our TikTok page. We're also on Instagram and Facebook as well.
We've never had such a full-on start to this show. It's been crazy.
I need a holiday. I'm a bit fearful of what else is to come, but we are deep into this. We'll be finding as many receipts for you as possible as it goes on. So Australia's most toxic MAFS couple have left the experiment, but before we get stuck into Brook, Chris got off so lightly last night.
I know. So the gruesome twosome have finally left the building. Hallelujah. Allegedly, Chris said something utterly vile at the dinner party, and he was shouting across the table and upsetting people, but the entire scene was cut out.
In a new interview, Alyssa claims what he said was atrocious because it's potentially defamatory. It can't be repeated. But if you read these articles, it alludes to what it was about.
Also, tension between David and Chris was so bad, producers had to physically separate them during what was described as a near punch-on. So why was it cut?
Well, I guess it just doesn't fit this new narrative of Chris as this hard done-by guy paired with the super bully Brooke. But producers could have just removed those defamatory bits.
And they could have just still shown some arguing, but they didn't. It was so confusing for viewers to try and understand why Alyssa was so upset. The context was removed. Chris also will not be at the reunion. He is the only groom in MAFS history not to be invited back. Obviously, Brooke was never going to show up, but production also didn't want to see Chris, who admitted he was a pain in the ass ever again.
As for Brooke walking out after expert Mel called her vicious, not surprising. She knew she couldn't fire back with some rude remark about Mel's suit or something else, so she bailed. It was cowardly. There's also confusion around this alcohol issue. Brooke told Woman's Day she drank 2 bottles of champagne before the dinner party, then told Gia and Chris it was 3. What a crazy exaggeration. You would be comatose if you drank 2 or 3 bottles.
Maybe she'd be in the hospital after she drank that much.
In leaked emails, Brooke told producers they never should have filmed her drunk, but production says she bought 1 bottle herself to drink in the limo, just 1.
And didn't it say she'd already been advised by production not to exceed 2.5 drinks?
Yes, so she's now blaming her behavior on alcohol. Like, I was really, really drunk. I wasn't in my right mind. Yes, you were. It was still your mind. You still said those things. This alcohol excuse is laughable.
What I don't understand is we never actually saw her that drunk.
No.
She was tipsy at the red flag event, at the dinner party, but she wasn't messy and slurring.
Yeah, she was in control.
She was also sober at the first commitment ceremony, and she was still mouthing off and eye rolling.
There's also confusion. Brooke was pregnant while filming, but she's due in July and she left in August, so she conceived a few months later. So far, she's only been given very soft interviews. I think MAFS wants to avoid any scrutiny about causing her stress because she's pregnant.
Of course, she's not going to do any media that makes her look bad.
I caught a strange interview with her on the weekend while I was driving. I think it was Today FM. They didn't ask her anything about the bullying. Instead, it was about her pregnancy and whether she was in contact with Chris. Oh, no, I don't want anything to do with that person. He's now blocked. And then right at the end, she slips in, apparently, I'm the most vicious person to ever be on MAFS, which sounded like she wanted to talk about it. But the host just said, oh, no, I'm sure that's not true. And then they ended it. What?
Ugh, crazy. Well, hopefully we'll get a break from these two for a bit. You know, Brooke has probably already negotiated a deal with Woman's Day for the baby pics.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how much press she actually does now that she's not on the show. I'm expecting to see her playing Happy Families around August, Woman's Day shoot, here's the baby, maybe even a wedding story.
Yeah, she just needs to go underground for a bit and then, milk any opportunity for sure and hope that the public has a short memory of her vile behavior.
And meanwhile, Chris was spotted this weekend living his best life on Sydney Harbour, partying with some former castmates, soaking up the sun. They can't hate him that much.
Well, Chris said before the show that he was on dating apps Hinge and Raya. Excuse me, for people who aren't familiar with Raya, this is the dating app for influencers, creatives, generally people with influential backgrounds, Ben Affleck, Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yes.
those kind of celebrities.
I wonder if people here know that much about it. So you do have to have an invitation from at least one member. And you have to have some
Mm,
kind of strong social media profile background. And it then gets approved by a committee. Is that right? So
yes.
on the MAFS Instagram profile that he's only got 7,500 followers. He does have another account as well, but that's got even less. And he only has made 18 posts on the MAFS official one.
Oh, and also I read that only 8% of applicants are accepted to Raya. It is very exclusive. So tell me, how
Yeah.
is a construction manager and regional AFL player getting accepted to Raya before he's even appeared on TV?
Maybe he's lying about Raya and he just threw it in because it sounds
Yeah.
a bit classier than Hinge or Tinder. I'm pretty sure he'd be on Tinder.
Mhm.
But maybe if he was on Raya, maybe that explains how he was able to date two models. How was Chris meeting models?
Yeah, exactly. This all sounds highly sus to me, but if
Mm.
anyone sees Chris on Raya, please let us know.
And we were also wondering on the last podcast we did about him, like why he even applied for MAFS in the first place. But he's now come out in another new interview saying that he just wanted to be on Survivor, actually. But
Yeah.
because it's made by the same company that also make MAFS, they said, "Oh, no, 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 we want you for MAFS. We think you'd be better on MAFS than Survivor." Because he
Mm.
was saying controversial things about women and relationships in that audition tape. So that just reminded me, remember when Michael got kicked out of Big Brother last year, first up? So that
Mm.
Michael then did an interview saying, well, I actually never wanted to be on Big Brother. I wanted
Yeah.
to be on Married at First Sight, but it's the same producers, so they wanted me to be on Big Brother. I don't know about this kind of swapping around.
Yeah. There's so much cross-pollination in Australia. There's a very small pool of talent, and you've got to
Mm.
just use them. But I do fear we haven't seen the last of Chris.
Where do you think he'd pop up next?
Well, I think he would be good on Survivor, and we could objectify him when he takes his shirt off. So we could,
Because actually, I don't know how many people agree with us, but we both thought Chris was actually pretty cute. And if he'd been a really nice guy, we would have had a bit of a crush on him. But he's not. Although I think if he went on Hero versus Villains or something on Survivor, wouldn't they just get rid of him straight up? Maybe he'd sweet talk some people into working with him. I don't know.
yeah, I think that's perfect casting. We need to be his agents. We've just got him a gig.
Yeah,
Heroes
I'm sure
versus
he'd love
villains.
us.
Yeah, for sure. Heroes versus villains.